Hey, good evening, everyone. Tonight is a special night, Friday night. Usually we're here every Thursdays at 9 p.m., but last night we had to reschedule so to tonight. And we continue with our Crown Rules, um, episode 8, Your Purpose. Good evening, Miss Dozier.
Good evening, Mr. Ford. How are you tonight?
I'm all right. I'm all right. How's everything going?
Everything's good. It's been a long week, but a quick week at the same time. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, time, as they say, time flies when you're having fun, I guess, right?
I guess. Yes.
So tonight's episode 8, so quickly these weeks fly by. We discover or try to explain your purpose,
Yeah.
going into another section of the book and really understanding a person's purpose.
Yes.
So
Yes.
talk. Explain how'd you try to define or get someone to understand their purpose in the book without like you said in the book, the religious dogma, the ideology, like to really understand, like why are you here? Um,
Yes.
why are you amongst the human being race, and trying to get the reader and the person that's reclaiming their journey to understand their purpose.
So the thank you for that question, Quentin. So the this chapter in itself attempts to take the reader on a journey regarding purpose. Specifically, first discussing that our creation is intentional. We're not here by mistake. Um, there's a series of events that need to occur in order for us to show up on this planet. Just as things just as simple and unique as your mother and your father encountering one another.
Mhm.
Like all of the uniqueness and the chance involved in that, and then your eventual creation, those things do not occur by accident. Your being here is intentional. So I talk about that first, and then I talk about you know being here for a purpose and how you can identify what that purpose is, and then once you identify it, to live on purpose. So it really takes the reader through that journey of that experience of understanding you're here for a reason, understand what that reason is, and then be intentional about it.
So let me ask anyone in the chat, what is your purpose? What is your purpose, as we say, to exist? What is your purpose? Is your purpose to just go to work, get up every day, go to work, bring home the money, pay bills, and every day be the same? What would you define as your purpose? Oh, when I was going over the book, Julia, I asked myself the question: Do you think that a person should redefine their purpose as much as possible, or their purpose should be defined and they, to their understanding, and just go and just um,
I do discuss the fact that purpose is not linear. um I remember a few years back, when the conversation about knowing what your purpose is first entered, like mainstream discussion, how everybody was in a frenzy trying to identify what their purpose is. And even sometimes now, if you bring up the word like what's your purpose, people get a little anxious and a little nervous because they feel like they haven't identified it yet. And one of the things that I came to understand on my journey is that your purpose is simply the things that you enjoy doing, that bring you fulfillment, and that also create a positive experience for others. So, from my perspective, your purpose is wrapped up in the energy that you bring to the world.
So you would say, okay, if I put out like we always talk about, if I put out this, I'll receive this. I put out all this energy, but a lot of times we don't receive the energy that we give. So because it's basically contingent on the people that we're dealing with. A lot of times, like you'll say, okay, I got my circumference of people that I give off my great energy to. Like Nicole just said, she says she thinks her purpose is to uplift others. But then we run across those individuals who don't appreciate our energy or bring their negative energy in our circumference. So you think that how do you think we should deal with that? Like dealing with people whose energy is just off.
So I believe that there is a path to your purpose. So it's not something that remains stagnant. It's intended to move you along your journey and move you along your life experience. So in the case of Nicole, who said that she believes her purpose is to help uplift others. Let's say, for example, she's in an environment where she's doing that and she's not receiving that energy back, or people are not appreciating what she's bringing to the table, so to say. Her purpose and the drive and the energy wrapped up in her purpose, if she is attentive to it, will move her to a different group of people that will respect it and will accept it and will acknowledge it so that she can live it out. A lot of people who stay in situations where they're not being appreciated or not being valued and giving out that energy, what they're giving out, what they're here to do, and it's not being um, welcomed or appreciated, they tend to let their dreams or their purpose die in them because it's not being fed. So the thing about purpose, I think, is that it's bi-directional. It's not only what you're here to do, but it's also seeing the results of that around in the people that you're around.
I think I think that as I was going over the chapter, do you I was saying for an individual who may have their core beliefs are into the religion or philosophy or values that they have, as they're reclaiming, I would like to say that for lack of better words, they have to strip down all the layers first and then start reclaiming what their belief is. Do you think that it would be hard because a lot of us will be like, my purpose is what the creator had intended for me, or the creator wanted me to worship him. So in going over that, like, okay, you want a person to have that type of solid foundation. However, when you're trying to understand your individual purpose, not everybody else's purpose in general, like we like to say, a lot of us say, everybody here is to serve others, serve humanity. As they say, worship God but serve humanity, or worship the Creator and serve humanity. You want to strip the person down and get them to understand, like, okay, yes, your purpose is to help others. Your purpose is there to uplift up others, but a lot of us get so wrapped up in helping each other, we wind up losing ourselves.
So that's the thing. I think that's a very valid point, but that's the thing about purpose and it being an energy. Just as you were created, you are also called to create in whatever way that is. And that's, part of your purpose, like a subpart of your purpose. You're called to create, and whatever it is that whatever special skills or talents or ability or passions that you have, when you live those out, you're actually creating, you're actually doing what you were created to do. And I think that when it comes down to this conversation and even the idea of stripping yourself, down, some people are afraid to give up the religious beliefs or the religious ideologies that were instilled in them. They don't want to lose that. And so they choose to hold on to that rather than be creative, rather than walk in their purpose, rather than do what they came here to do. And, the thing is, it's a very delicate balance. some people don't understand that you get to choose what you want to hold on to and what you want to let go of. And sometimes your passion or your purpose is such a burning desire that even when you're trying to hold on to that religious ideology or that religious dogma or those principles, you will still have that burning in your spirit to do what you have been called to do.
Yeah, yeah. King said, "My purpose is to live life and be happy, knowing that all that I do is going to breathe success into anything that I do." And this speaks about something that you talked about the book. And we're dealing with success. I'm gonna ask you, like, in knowing with what you just said, and knowing that, a lot of times people will be like, I feel unfulfilled because they feel like they're not living that purpose, that burning desire that's in the gut of in their gut, and they be like, I got to do more, I got to do more. Do you think, how could I say this, that a person, for example, a person's purpose can also be the reason why they have to reclaim their throne?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that your experiences in life, as I said, your purpose takes you along the path, takes you along a path that your experience in your life moves you along that path. And sometimes there are experiences that you have that wake you up to the fact that you're not in alignment. And there are, especially, I know that I'm not alone. You have so many influencers and influential people who are successful because part of what they do is motivational speaking and telling people how they overcame certain things. And so that's their purpose. That's ingrained in them to help people to understand how they can be happy. That's your first and foremost purpose, is to be happy. And how do you become happy? You become happy by chasing those things that are in your heart's desire or in your mind to do. There are some people who have had a desire to do a thing, whatever it is, for years. It never leaves them, and it never will leave them until they do it. And if they don't do it, then they'll die with that in their heart.
It's like we talked about the other day. It's like being on that cliff and being afraid to jump. That sometimes you don't want to jump. So sometimes you need somebody to, like, kick you in your rear end, like, get off the cliff, going out there and chase your dreams, chase your purpose, chase the success that you strive for. So in the chapter you broke down short term and long term purpose.
Yes.
Explain to us what you meant by short term purpose.
Short-term purpose is well, let me backtrack. One of the guiding principles that I live by comes from a scripture in the Bible that says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." Which means that if you don't have something that you're looking toward, or something that you're hoping for, or something that you're looking to achieve or experience, then you will just be on that wheel of going to work, paying the bills, maybe having a family night, whatever the case may be. You'll stay on that circle indefinitely without a vision. And that vision is tied to your purpose. So when I talk about short-term goals, it's really about, what do you want to accomplish immediately? Because sometimes it's easier to think about the things you might want to accomplish in the next 3 months, 6 months, year. But sometimes it's even easier to set what you want to accomplish for the next day. And the reason why it's in the book is because when you establish those short-term goals and you identify your plan or your path for how to get there and you start working on them, what you're doing is you're building courage. A lot of times people don't pursue what they want to pursue because they don't believe in themselves. And how do you get to believe in yourself? By accomplishing one small thing at a time.
Yeah, yeah. Because the reason why I asked that and how you broke it down in the book is because, like you said, a lot of us are on that professional that wheel. Like, I'm just going to work every day. I'm taking care of my family, taking care of what I believe to be my immediate needs. And you hear the story. I worked at a company for 20 years, and when I got to my 21st year, and all they did was gave me a jacket or a watch, then I realized my true purpose. And then you see a shift in their career. Like, you always hear, quote unquote, a lot of what we may seem like successful people, and they'll tell you a story where they had that burning desire, that burning feeling like I knew I had something going on in me that wasn't being fulfilled. And then all of a sudden, I decided to take that leap, to take that jump, to really like follow what I believe my dream or my purpose really was.
Absolutely. I'm reminded of a video I saw of a young woman on Instagram one time. She was receiving. She told the story about how she was receiving public assistance. She told the story about how her children's father was present but wasn't really able to help because of financially help because of his situation, and that she had a vision to go into cosmetology, but she didn't know how she was going to go. And because she didn't know how she was going to go to cosmetology school, she just sat on her couch or doing whatever she was doing day to day to day, just dreaming about going to cosmetology school. And she said it dawned on her one day to just go get the supplies that she needed to try to figure out how to do her own nails. So she went and got the supplies and she looked at some tutorials and she started doing her own nails. She perfected it. The next thing she did was she started offering the service to the people that were, in her community. The next thing she knew, she had a business, a full-time business where she was a nail tech in her own home. The next thing she knew, she was so busy that she had to get her father to babysit her children so that she could have time to do what she needed to do. And he told her that he told her that he would only babysit them if she saved enough money to go to cosmetology school, and he wanted her to show him proof of her savings. And so what she had to do was, do the nail technician work, make her money, show him what she had saved, and in a period of time she had saved enough to go to school. So in listening to that story, it was like, sometimes we have the vision and we have the dream, and it can seem so big and so impossible to accomplish. And the reality is, it just starts with one step. Your purpose will lead you along the path to fulfill that dream in your heart, but you just have to take the first step. And so the short term goals in the book help you to lay out what those first steps are.
And we're at a portion of the book for everybody in the chat that's been coming along with us in the book, where Julia actually lays out a blueprint to write down these things, because a lot of times most of us we have these goals and we have dreams that we all want to do, and we'll write them down, and at the end of the day you may say, I I want to write a book, or I want to write some lines, or I want to take on a different job, a different career, in the example that she gave. And then what will happen is it will be your thought and your dream, and then you'll never do it. So with writing this stuff down, what you do is you create what Julia calls, and a lot of other people call it, but Julia mentions it a lot, is you create your vision board, and realizing, okay, this is what I want to do. And you always hear, when we were most of us when we were younger and in school, school teachers would always say to us, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And a lot of us were so caught up in what we were doing or just living life and not looking that far that we didn't see 5 years. We would think, okay, 5 years is too far for me to look. I'm only worried about trying to get through the day. Like it's a struggle. I live check by check. But the reality is 5 years of when somebody asks you your 5 year plan, a 5 year plan is really a short term goal. Um, this is where Julia speaks about having that short term purpose and a long term purpose and understand, okay, in 5 years, I'm going to have this and this certificate for my job so I can put myself in a better situation to make more money.
It's amazing. One of the reasons why this chapter is laid out this way, I always have a little trickery in what I
Yeah.
do. One of the reason why the chapter is laid out this way, getting you to understand that you're here for a purpose, getting you to understand that you're here on purpose, and getting you to the point where you're ready to walk in your purpose, whatever that may be for you and having the space to write these things out is because you're setting an intention. And one of the things that I learned through my experience, and it still happens today, and I've been practicing it so long that it's almost immediate now, that when you set an intention to do something, when you have a vision to do something and you can see it and you can feel it and you write it down, leave it there because you've put it out into the universe, for lack of a better word. And then what will happen is that the ideas, the creative inspiration will start coming to you. Do this, go here, pick that up, talk to this person. You'll have people calling you that you weren't even expecting to call you to that helps you to fulfill what it is you were you want to fulfill. So it's important to communicate it and express it, because once you do, then everything starts moving in alignment with that. Like everything is committed to what you're committed to. If you're committed to being miserable, everything will happen around you to allow you to be miserable.
I know on Facebook and even on Instagram, I think you have those memories that pop up in your thread. So I asked myself and everybody in the chat to like really look at yourself and say, what was my purpose last year at this time? Did you see yourself on a Friday night sitting here watching Crown Rules? And it's important that we understand that alone. Last year we were in a situation where we were just going into the beginning or the difficult task of the pandemic. Not a lot of us had a lot of doubt, jobs laying off like crazy, couldn't really be in a situation where you could move. So now a year later, we see that, as they say, the country is opening back up. Like we had a year to, as they say, reset, rethink, according to Julia's book, reclaim and reestablish our crown and reestablish our journey. What have we learned? I mean, I'm asking everybody in the chat, what have you learned in the last year about your short-term purpose and your long-term purpose? Has it been reestablished? Um, I know that last year, this time, we didn't know anything about Crown Rules, and it's been an amazing journey when we talk about. We went over the second book, Crown Rules 2, and now we're going over the first book. Um, so a lot of times we set out and say, well, I'm a I'm gonna do your book, and like last year, like I'm gonna have my book out, and then like now we like have like a virtual book club, and I know that we're both planning separate things and then doing different things, and then we don't know where we're gonna be at next year, and what we plan to do and what we intend to do may not be in the script. It may be something bigger for us. So we have to, as we say, take that leap. Uh, Go ahead, Julia.
Oh my goodness, Quentin. Um, so amazing that you said that. I had a conversation with my cousin today. She sometimes appears in the chat, DKB. And I was talking to her about some of my plans, but I was talking to her about them in a very limited way, because in my mind I have so many things I wanted to do. I don't want to overcommit to anything. And she reminded me, when you speak in limits, when you speak in limits, you're not allowing yourself to be open to the enormity of what might be waiting for you once you move down that path. And so it's like sometimes people are afraid to set intention, number one, because it seems too big. But sometimes they're afraid to set intention because they don't want it to be too big. They want it to be kind of small and kind of manageable in little chunks. But once you start walking,
I mean, I believe that, and when Joel speaks about breathing life to your success, is that you just have to just, as they say, you got to be there. You can't expect to win the race if you're not in the race.
got to put some skin in the game.
So I know that we all believe in what we believe is our success, or what we believe in achieving the mark, or getting to the goal that we all strive for. But but a lot of us will take ourselves out of the race.
We take ourselves out of the race, and a lot of times we take ourselves out of the race. You and I had a really good conversation this week, Quentin, and I really appreciate the times when we do get to talk about very important things. And you said earlier in the show that sometimes you have to be willing to jump, but you also said when we were talking that sometimes you have to have that person behind you to gently push you. you know it's important to surround yourself with people who believe in you and who see greatness in you, and sometimes who see more greatness in you than you see in yourself. It's important to have people around you who encourage you to move forward, who encourage you to take the opportunity. A lot of times people don't move because they don't feel they have the support around them
Yeah,
to, acknowledge them and
and
to give
and
them
then it,
encouragement.
and then it goes back to the having the self doubt. Like, you know what, if I can't, and I always try to say a phrase that I use, and then let's talk slogan is, I water you, you water me, and we grow together. Is that
Absolutely.
that sometimes people don't understand that we're so busy asking for water in our plant, we're not helping nobody else water their plant, and vice versa. It's like the old adage: you can't wash your face with one hand.
Mm.
You need both hands to wash your face. And I say that to say that we be so consumed with our purpose. Like, okay, you're a purpose driven person, and like, for example, say uh your focus was to get Crown Rules, your second edition, out. We was talking about that when we were doing Crown Rules 2. You was trying to get the second edition for Crown Rules 1 out. Now, you could have been one of them people who be like, I can't do anything else until I finish this edition. But in a lot of times, what happens is that we are, people really are like really multitaskers. A lot of people are, and it helps them focus on the task at hand by doing a bunch of different other things, and then by doing those other things, you're getting input from other people, and it's allowing you to make, as they say, put a piece of perfection together. Which, I always try to say how your books are like, trying to understand, like, okay, this is my vision for my books, this is my goals, this is the purpose that I'm trying to achieve. But in order to achieve it, I have to really, really get my resources from everything that's going on around me. Like, you hear a lot of professional athletes, they'll say, what gives me the edge is the crowd. I feed off the energy of the crowd. The crowd like boosts me, like it really helps me overcome the anxiety of the actual event they're doing. So I think that's important for us to understand that, we tend to be so driven, like, I want to do this thing perfect, and like, you'll miss your mark by trying to be perfect. But when you're not really paying it no mind, but you're putting your all in it, you wind up coming out with that piece of perfection.
Absolutely. There's I'm learning now that there is an ease to success. A lot of what we're taught is that you have to drive, you have to push, you have to pull, you have to, you have to be hard about it. You have to be on it. You got to be up to 4 o'clock
Like
in the morning doing it,
like
you
those
know?
those in the chat. I mean, and the reason why I brought this up is because think about what Julia is saying with understanding your purpose. And I'm gonna use this for an example. Has anybody ever seen a beautiful caterpillar? But I bet you saw a beautiful butterfly. Caterpillars, if you look at them, and I know people that study animals will be like, well, this caterpillar is different from this caterpillar, so I know the butterfly gonna be beautiful. Me myself, I'm a layman, so caterpillars to me they look funny looking, they look creepy. So a person that don't really like bugs would probably be like, oh, that thing. But look about the stages that the caterpillar has, and then when
If
it
you
comes into its full butterfly stage.
if you have never watched the process of a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, I highly encourage you just to Google it and watch the video on YouTube. When we talk about it, that transformation, which is the introduction to our show. When we talk about, the caterpillar turning into the butterfly, it seems like it's an instantaneous process. But that process can take days, if not weeks, for that caterpillar to turn into that butterfly. And then there's two transformations that occur. The caterpillar dies in its original form, but then the butterfly has to emerge from that death. The butterfly emerges from that death. And the caterpillar, when you think about it, is in this small little frame, in this small little cocoon. And the butterfly generally is 3 to 4 times bigger than the cocoon. So it has to struggle to get out. And sometimes that's the exact experience that we have, as we're um, getting rid of, those old ideas, those old beliefs, and coming into a new way of being. It's a struggle. It's not always pretty. It doesn't always feel good. And as you're making your transformation, you have to fight out your way out of those old ideas. I would highly suggest that you look at it.
Yeah, so everybody in the chat, I don't know if me and Julia and myself is coming off right, but sometimes like the example that she just used so eloquently is to understand in order to bring forth new life, for a lack of better words, you may have to go through the stages of death. I always try to. I had a conversation with a coworker today, and we were talking about the process of a woman having a baby, and being that Mother's Day is coming. I don't think if you've never really understood or looked at the process of a woman having a baby and what she goes through to bring forth life, you'll get the idea that what Julia has tried to convey in the book, like getting rid of that old, getting rid of shedding that, like shedding skin, so to say, getting rid of all that new skin and just laying it all out and just coming into yourself, coming into your new self. And this is what part of reclaiming your throne is all about. Some of us may have to do it every 6 months. Some of us may do it once in a lifetime. Some of us may never do it. Some of us may do it all the time, and it's good to have that refreshing. It's like the person that is fasting or getting rid of eating meat. They're not vegan, but they just say, I'm not going to eat meat for 30 days. Their body goes through these changes. So
You know,
it's go ahead, Jules.
it's a process. It's not a process that you engage in one time. The shedding of old beliefs that are not allowing you to move forward on your path and living your purpose. It's not, a death to old beliefs that you experienced one time. If you're moving forward and you're growing and you're following your purpose and you're following your vision and you're following your path, you're going to experience that multiple times, but nothing is as intense as the first time. So if you allow yourself to go through whatever it is that you need to go through in order to, accept that you believe differently than what you've been taught, accept that you see yourself differently now than who you've been told to see yourself as, accept that you feel like it is okay for you to pursue the things that people told you you couldn't pursue. Like, once you get into that space and allow those old thoughts to kind of fall away, that's a hard thing, because it's a part of your identity that you're letting go of, so that you can create your new identity. And you can only create your new identity by identifying what your path is, what your plan is, and then, walking along that. But that first death to self, to ego.
And this is why you see so many people in the beginning of what we would consider them going to therapy. In the beginning, it's a struggle because the therapist gets them to look at themselves first, get them to look at those layers first. And usually, if a person is going through that type of therapy, what do they say when they get their breakthrough? That was the best thing I ever did in my life, because it allowed them to look at those skeletons and address those issues that they have been keeping hidden for so long. And it allows them a new beginning, a new life, a new outlook on understanding and redefining their purpose.
And that's why this chapter is here in this part of the book, because in the first part of the book there's a little bit of that process there to kind of look at what are the things that you have been taught to believe, what have been your experiences that cause you to believe certain things about yourself. Examine if those things are true, or if it was just based on the experience. And no matter which way it fell, do you believe those things about yourself today? Do you believe something new about yourself today? And once you start believing different things about yourself, now you can start working on what you're here to do and not trying to manage other people's nonsense.
So I'm gonna ask everybody in the chat if you don't mind. I know we don't have that many people in the chat right now that I know that's watching, but if you're watching the show, ask yourself what have you done? Let's just say this last 6 months, where you looked at yourself and looked at some of the issues that you may think that you have, and you addressed them, and it gave you a different purpose or a different outlook on your personal situation. Hey, T. Lachelle.
Hi, T. Lachelle.
So it's because it's important, because a lot of times for example, I was looking at something that I had been doing for a while, and I wasn't actually getting the results that I had intended on doing,
Mm-hmm.
so I stopped doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is, because I stopped doing it, I got complacent in not doing it, and then the issues came up. Like, you have some people who are highly driven, highly motivated people, and they just grind. And then when they stop in the middle of the grind, they may not get the results that they expected. So then when they stop or slow down, then they realize, like, you know what? Because I'm not grinding the way that I used to, I'm not getting that piece of fulfillment that I really was getting, as we would say, getting the endorphins, to the pleasure of the grind.
Don't be addicted to the grind. Be addicted to your outcomes, because outcomes don't always have to be that difficult.
Yeah.
Like, be persistent, persevere, go forward, do what you got to do, put your energy into what you got to put your energy into. But some people do that just for the sake of doing that. They think that being busy or having all of these plans or even making a whole entire vision board, like doing all of that, but not, relaxing into the inspiration that you get to do the next thing so that you can have an outcome. Don't be addicted so much to your grind. Be addicted to the outcome. Well, not even addicted, but look forward to find pleasure in the outcomes.
Yeah. I ran across something yesterday I had seen where it was, and sometimes we look at social media and we don't. You see a post and you be like, "Oh no, I'm not even gonna comment on there. That looked like a little bit too much drama going on there."
That's going to be a fight.
Yeah. But then sometimes you can look at a post and say, "Okay, we see the problem. The problem has been established. Now let's look for some solution-based answers." Instead, you'll see a post and be like, everybody's talking about the problem. Everybody's regurgitating the same issue, the pointing the finger, the lack of accountability. How can I come in and comment or try to sway the post to be like, you know what? Let's come up with a solution. Let's come up to understand, like, we're going down this road. Like, how many times we gonna keep doing it? And you see that with social media, everybody has an opinion, which I believe everybody's opinion should be valued and considered. But like, where's the solution based people at? Where's the people that's coming up with solutions on how to solve the issue that we're going through? So I think that's important for us to really understand. Like, your purpose is to really like not always add fuel to the fire, so to say. So King said, "Show me how to evolve and elevate on a higher scale." Hmm.
What he did over the
I'm gonna,
last 6 months.
yeah, what he did over the last 6 months. Interesting.
Some
Tila Shell said, "For me, it was when I caught myself in the midst of repeating cycles. Then I learned that it is time for course correction. Being aware of your cycle and your form of processing is necessary."
absolutely.
Tila Shell, you're absolutely right. And a lot of us, when you're going through that continuous cycle, it's hard for us to have the oh moment. I mean, one of the purposes I believe that I got out of reading Julia's book the first two times I read it was, why do we seem like we always have to stub our toe first? And I said it before in an episode, like, certain things are written down for us and a format is written down, and just follow the format. Like,
When
why you got to go through all these issues and
because
this continuous vicious cycle? Because a lot of us beat ourselves up because we become victims of our own circumstances, and then we're doing the same cycle,
it's
and then
because
like,
people don't know how to trust. People don't know how to trust. They don't know how to trust. Let's say, for example, someone is giving someone advice. They might hear the advice. It might sound good. They might not trust it. And the reason why they might not trust it is not because they don't trust that person. They don't trust that they can carry it out based on their prior experience. And so, they'll go through it, and then after they experience it, they'll remember, oh, such and such said, that this wasn't the thing to do. But sometimes it's also how you communicate the message. Like, you can't, sometimes broad messages or broad statements are not enough for everybody. If you have a personal relationship with someone and can communicate to them in the way you think they need to hear it, it might make a difference. But then again, it might not. But even if it doesn't, even if they stub their toe, when they get tired of stubbing their toe, they'll, as T. Lachelle said, course correct. But also that experience from stubbing the toe or whatever happened is something that they carry along with them on their path. And I think that that's purposeful too, because it allows them to know what dangers to avoid as they're moving forward. Like, once you set your intention, your short-term goal or your long-term goal, then our next episode we'll talk about dangers. But once you set your short-term goal or your long-term goal, you really become, and you become aligned to it and committed to it, you start to pay more attention to the things that could potentially mislead you or misdirect you from your path. And so it's like you don't have time to stub your toe because you have this thing that you want to fulfill, and you know that stubbing your toe will take you off your path. And it's like, what's more important? You start making decisions about what's more important to you: fulfilling your purpose or your passion or your desire or your dream, or stubbing your toe.
So Taylor Shaw also said, I would get pissed off when I was subbing my toe. The same way, and my reaction didn't change. That is where I failed. It was all in my responses that has the propensity to change the outcome. Yeah, it's a funny thing is that we sometimes we take ourselves. It's like a mind game that we play with ourselves, that we'll take ourselves through that down that road again, over and over, and then, like, you know what? See that we were discussing this in one of the other episodes. You see those signs of destruction, and then it's like, you know what? If I don't catch myself, and as Tila Shell said, do a course correction, I'm gonna be back here again.
What happens is you make a decision to stop hurting yourself, because the truth of the matter is, nobody can hurt you or bring harm in your direction or stop your flow unless you allow it. And sometimes you have to ask yourself the question, why am I allowing this to happen? What am I afraid of being able to achieve? Or what am I afraid of letting go of? And once you examine that, the thing that you're afraid to let go of, it really has nothing to do with your purpose. The things that are the most difficult to let go of are the things that are preventing you from actually fulfilling your dreams and being happy.
All right, all right, that's interesting. So I don't know if you had any more final thoughts, Miss Dozier.
Yes.
I believe that this topic and this issue, your purpose is for the individual reader to really get to know their purpose and to write it down. Write down your purpose. Like I said earlier, that you have to really get rid of what you value, your religious upbringing or non-religious upbringing, to really define your purpose, not everybody else's purpose, not what someone told you your purpose is, but to understand what your purpose is. And
And you
that's
don't have to
important.
get rid of it. It's just like kind of lay it to the side for a second, right? Because a lot of times those ideas that we're taught, sometimes they can be very freeing and allow us to achieve the impossible. For example, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? So sometimes they can be very encouraging, but then sometimes they can be very limiting as well. There a lot of doctrine and ideology is wrapped around fear. Like, be a good person. you know don't harm others. 10 commandments kind of living. But sometimes, or let somebody slap you 7 times and turn the other cheek and let them slap 7 more. Like, those kinds of ideas, like, lay them down for a second and think about what you think, and dig into what you believe. And your life experiences have come so that you could develop the thinking or the beliefs or the ideas that will help you along the path on your purpose. So if you just decide to stay within this box, that's the box you're going to be in, unless you allow yourself to really connect to what's important to you as an individual.
Taylor says slap me if you want to LMAO. Um, yeah, and for anybody in the chat, make sure you guys hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the heart button, make sure you share. because we want to always have these type of discussions and discussion every Thursday, which just today just happened to be a Friday night show. Every Thursday to discuss these issues, and you know, the chat is so important for what we're trying to accomplish with the virtual book club, because the chat allows us to, and allows the person in the chat sharing their story to get them to understand like your story is your story. Everybody's story and everybody's journey is individualized to what they need to do and what how they go. A lot of times we try to put ourselves in other people's shoes and live their journey, and it's not about living their journey. It's about living your own journey, rediscovering your own crown. Um, for the man, his crown, and for the woman, her crown. So don't get caught up with, well, this person is here on their journey and I'm still at point A. You're at point A for a reason. Um, I heard an interesting phrase this week is you can only be where your feet are at. And this is
Mm.
a serious thing because we sometimes we be all over the place and just don't understand that you are only where your feet are at. Your feet are here. This is where you're at. So step into your purpose, step into what you are supposed to do, and understand that you're not going to be nowhere in life where you're not supposed to be.
I do want to make one point that's in the book that I really, really love, on the idea of purpose, because I think we tend to put purpose in a box too. That, once we identify what it is, that's what we're always doing. One of the examples I give in the book is about, a woman who has identified that her purpose is to teach. And why is it her purpose to teach? Because she enjoys learning, and she enjoys sharing her learning with others, and seeing others learn. But her purpose can take her along an ever increasing path. In the example in the book, she starts out, teaching children in school, and then she'd start teaching college classes, and then she is able to create, classes that are taught around the nation, and then she goes on to create global educational systems for children around the world. So, purpose could be that one thread, but as you walk along your path and allow yourself to engage with other people who are acknowledging and appreciating and supporting you in it, you can do greater and greater things just with that one thread. So, it's not just one thing.
So with that, everyone, great show, great for everybody in the chat that joined us. We love to discuss the show. It's very um, rewarding sometime when we discuss what we're going to talk about prior to the show, and then we have a show where we feel as though the discussion was good. So remember, you guys, the best way to support is to like, share, and subscribe. Share your, like I said, when you join the show, share your experiences. We do have some interesting things coming up that we're trying to do for the show, and being on this journey with Julia first, and then myself because she put me on this journey as well. Um, being on this thing. Hold on.
Bless
Excuse me.
you.
Thank you. Being on this journey together, and understanding that your journey is individually, but you don't. That doesn't mean you have to do it alone. And rediscovering it and reclaiming yourself, because you never know the um the grass that you water today may be the grass that need to be watered tomorrow. So with that, you guys have a blessed week. We will see you guys hopefully next Thursday, 9 p.m. Thank you in the chat. Have a great weekend and stay safe.
Happy Mother's Day. We still live. We don't
So often we are referred to as queen. But have you ever stopped to admire the beauty of your crown? Let's talk Crown Rules. Thursday nights at 9 p.m. with your hosts Quentin Ford and myself, Julia Dozier,